Slide that fucking thing closer.
Can't get it much closer. You're live. Do it.
All right, Flavor Nation. We're here with Cigar Sundays, special edition.
Water Twin Triplets powers activate.
Hot damn. There's a lot of hot meat in this corner. Hot damn dog diggity. Lots of hot meat in this corner.
So, how much did that camera cost to get that wide angle to get our three fat asses?
Put it way far away. Way away.
I can't believe that thing zooms from like the next
We
block.
fire up the laptop or the.
We said we were talking about ribs and turned into a belly show.
Pork belly. All right. So as usual, this is Dylan's show. We're on episode 2.
Season 1.
But since he came south, we thought we'd do this all together in the new. What are we calling this? The Flavor Anonymous corporate headquarters.
Yes.
AKA your fucking garage.
Flavor Anonymous
World
World Headquarters.
We there we go. Just kill the video on there or the audio and we'll answer the questions.
So this is a Flavor A World Headquarters. This is where all the bullshit goes down.
This is the bullshit.
Yes, it is. Boy, there's been plenty of it going down today. Let me tell you that.
So let's catch everybody up. Mike, you're just moving here from another part of Kentucky via Nashville, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Central Kentucky via Nashville.
And this makes it official. You're officially, in the motorcycle club or whatever.
Have I been knighted?
You've not
You're
been knighted.
officially in deep shit.
Because I didn't know that was what Dylan was doing, was knighting me. I was kind of worried with it.
It's an awful short sword.
Yeah.
Kept hitting my ear with it. I don't understand.
I've watched the Three Musketeers, and that's not how this shit went down the movie. That's another story.
Oh, goodness gracious. So it's been like this all weekend, obviously. If you guys have questions, we're going to answer them. But today is, what was the main topic?
Ribs.
Ribs. All right.
So we got some ribs.
So if you got rib questions, throw them out there. We're going to answer them. Let us know if the audio is good enough, if you can hear it. I know it's not going to be perfect. We're doing this kind of impromptu, but we still want to do it because we never all get in the same room together, which after that court order,
That's about to expire.
Yeah. 3 more days he gets his ankle bracelet off.
Our left active is one that Jennifer Aniston has going, and it's set to expire next year, so it should be
Yeah,
clear up.
well, it's good to know you'll be able to go back into the hog process.
Yes, exactly. The pig squealed on me. Somebody said,
And did.
Yes, he did.
Well, in Chicago, we use everything but the squeal. We know what they used it for this time.
That's right. They got you.
So this product testing is about ready to kill me. My belt is cutting me in two.
We have eat like kings today. So not all the products we tested today we're probably making on the FA line. I know you guys are going to ask that. But one of the products in particular, I think, may be one of the best all-around products we've done yet. Actually, I say it was Dylan's, but I'll take credit for it when he's not around.
I'm telling you, I'll take a rack of it. I'll let you let the cat out of the bag since you
Go ahead and
shoot
shoot kitty cat.
So
You licked it, yeah.
You licked it, you got to stick.
So I licked it and I got to stick it. So what's the official name of this going to be?
The working name is Notorious RED.
I'm going to tell you, when you add a little bit of apple to an already awesome rub, this stuff is off the chain good. I was a little leery at first of having the rubs that had like a note to them, like the pecan rubs and some of the ones that came out first.
Well, let's talk about why that is, dude.
Well, I mean, sometimes those are a little over.
Well, they taste fake sometimes.
Yeah, they taste fake.
Like some like the cherry ones taste like you licked a cherry Kool-Aid packet, and I don't like that.
Now, these pecan rub, nice to tell you, I'm a big fan of it.
Great IT guy.
Yeah. Some of them are great, some of them are not. This apple is a wonder. I'm telling you, on a rack of ribs, no salt, no pepper, nothing but the apple on it. and then laying a base coat of Cure and this on top of it.
You play with it,
Took it right
mixing
off
it.
the chart.
Yeah.
Put a heavy coat of the Cure on there to get that pepper up a little bit, so you get a little bit of spice, a little heat out of it. Lay this apple on it, it's sweet.
You guys can see, well, you can't see the color because the way the camera's set up.
You need to pick some of that up.
Yeah, let's pick
Show
some of
them.
it up. We'll show and tell just a little bit. While we're doing that, Mike Ross, brother, good to see you. Let's see. Greg Garbo, brother, we were talking about you this weekend. We got some cool products coming your way. Eddie Hanks. Reggie, always a pleasure. Tony Avett, thank you, sir, for joining us. But yeah, dude, we this is 250. Unwrap those ribs, start to finish. Let's, we didn't flip them, we didn't nothing. We just hit them with the rub, put them on there, and ignored them for 4 hours.
So we stuck them on there. I put them on a cold start. Let it go ahead and get the initial startup smoke on them. Forgot about them once, thought about going to check on them. We got the bullshit about other product, forgot about them again. Finally, Shane said, "Are you going to go over and check those or what?" And they're perfect. I mean, they didn't get a spritz, they didn't get a wrap on them. They were put on at 250 and let go until they were done.
That's true.
True story.
True story.
Honest engine.
So let's talk about this rub. So you said add a little apple to a good rub. I don't want people thinking this is a recycled rub.
It's not. Well, not an FA rub.
This isn't a rub
Never really.
that anybody's ever had before. This is one we had in the closet, so to speak, up on the shelf.
It's like Prince. He wrote like 1,000 songs, and he pulled one down occasionally.
So we pulled this one off the shelf and just kind of took a look at what we had out there, and the whole we thought, was that sweet rub, but we didn't want candy sweet. We didn't want sickening sweet. We wanted balanced sweet, and
we wanted some color.
We wanted some color.
But you can see the color on those for just that rub itself.
Yeah. It looked the side profile with the smoke ring and all that.
Yeah, you got to hold it up because it's just below the camera angle.
Yeah, I don't know that you're going to see it there, but if you can see from that far, it looks like lipstick.
Yep.
Like the color, it's like a magenta, almost purplish red on that rib. But what we were really going for here was a sweetness that wasn't just brown sugar, it wasn't honey, because there's plenty of that out
You
there.
can still mix stuff with it.
There wasn't a Jolly Rancher apple.
Yeah, and we didn't want it to be so apple that, it smelled like bath and whatever,
Bath and Body Works.
Bath and
Like a
Body
candle.
Works, We wanted that apple to add that delicate kind of buttery sweetness that when it's balanced, you don't know that it's apple necessarily. You just know it's like a fruity, it's a nice, crisp kind of sweetness to
Well,
it.
at the end of the cook, you've got that note to it.
Right.
But
You
it
know
doesn't
it's
taste
of
like
apple
your-
barely.
Yes,
but
it's not like eating a Granny Smith apple.
Right,
It's just got that apple note to it. If you've ever been rubbed the wrong way by one of these, this is going to rub you the right way.
And you know a lot about rubbing us the right way.
Well, I'm not going to say anything about those massage parlors, but
Purrs like a kid. So before we jump in too far, Reggie's asking the flavor of pellet. I believe hickory's in there. What did you look, dude? Honestly.
there was a bag of hickory laying on the bottom shelf of it, so let's say it was hickory.
Yeah. It was my pellet grill, so there's a 99.9% probability it's hickory.
So we stayed up till about 2 last night. There was not a lot of care taken with these.
No,
And
that
that's what I
was
like
intentional.
about
We
them.
wanted to kind of use them and see what happened.
Put them on there, forget about them. There's not an every 15-minute thing that you've got to do to them. Season them, put them on at 250. Check them after about 2.5 hours, see where you're at. The 3-hour mark, check them again and go from there.
Well, it doesn't hurt that these were really good ribs we started out with. So these are from Wichita Packing out of Chicago. Some of the best ribs you can find in the country.
I guarantee you that.
Coming out of Iowa, they come out of Iowa processed and
I'll tell you what else I
Cut
like
down
about
to
those
Chicago.
Wichita packing ribs. They're already peeled in the box. You're not peeling them. I mean,
So no
I
silver.
literally did nothing to these but season them today.
Right. You know, so that's about the new rub and that's about the rib, but this episode was all about ribs. So I want to talk a little bit more.
Yeah,
there's a lot that people just don't know about ribs.
I agree. When they think they know, that's the thing.
You know, so
Well, here's a softball lob from Eddie Hanks. We appreciate the support. Which you prefer, meat fall off the bone or not? Basically,
Here we go.
if the meat falls off the bone, you just spent about $2.50 a pound too much. You could have just bought a pork butt.
It's true.
Because if you want it that tender, that's called pulled pork.
Yep.
And if you want a stick, pull the stick out of your ass and form the pulled pork around it.
So I'm not a smart man, but are you saying you don't want to fall off the bone?
I don't want to fall off the bone.
Now,
I like a little bite to them.
I don't want to have to get out the old butter knife and carve them off the bone.
No, I don't want. You shouldn't have to wrestle.
They shouldn't pull your front teeth out when you try to take a bite.
That's right. But you shouldn't have to,
What they should be like is they should have the chew of like a really good pork, like a really tender pork chop,
Right.
or a really good pork steak.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's, you want a little texture.
You want texture too. You don't want mush. You don't want
Right.
peanut butter rib.
Right. So that's what I'm looking for out of them. That's what I like. These were St. Louis. So you want to hand me that Yeti water bottle real quick? I want to use that as a little demonstration piece here.
Here's my water bottle.
Well, I had one of those rubber pigs and I forgot it. So
Last time Dylan had it in his hand, he had to sanitize it.
You should go get the WWE superstars. We can do it straight there.
the bottle I'm using it because it's round. So we'll pretend this is the snout kind of
The
thing.
snoot.
And the soft one, he has something around his hand.
Yes. And it's usually about this size.
It's very nowhere near as long.
It's usually pointed somewhere else, but
What's there, what's
so
your eyes?
this is the spine. You go blind. So imagine this is the spine of the hog, right? So baby back ribs, they're actually called loin back ribs.
That's correct.
And the reason they call them loin back ribs is because the loin comes right down either side of the spine, okay? That's what holds, that's what holds them in shape that way. And what do we know about the loin on a pig? We
Super
know
white meat, man.
super white. It's the leanest meat on the hog. That means it has almost no marbling, almost no fat.
Almost fat free.
And the loin back ribs come from just underneath it. So they pull that loin off, and depending on how much meat they pull with that loin, determines how much meat you got left on those loin back ribs.
Right.
So if they're harvesting like a center, nice loin, you're gonna have meatier loin back ribs underneath it. If they're going to pull that whole thing off, you're gonna have a whole lot of meat on those loin back
That's
ribs. But the reason I bring this up is people that cook baby back, I don't cook baby back ribs because to me, by the time you season them and smoke them, they're Slim Jims, but that's another discussion for another day.
We got a lot of customers that love baby backs as far as what we sell catering wise. I talk about my leg of things, and they are different, but there's some people that love them.
I think Chili's little commercial did more for baby back.
They did, and it also drove the price way
The
up.
marketing and everything,
Big thing on that.
But the reason I bring this up is people that cook those baby back ribs with like the 3-2-1 method for 5 and 6 hours of low and slow.
Yeah.
How the hell
Guys,
is it on a baby back?
This is the leanest part of the pig, and that just came from underneath it.
Right.
That's like going low and slow on a chicken breast.
But it's exactly how we got to the place of putting 93 ingredients in your wrap.
right.
Yeah.
Butter, apple juice, brown sugar. That's what it is covering up all that stuff.
So it's trying to get that fat and that moisture
Right.
in there because it doesn't have it.
Right.
So baby back ribs, if I gotta cook them, they're going hot and fast. I'm gonna treat them like a steak, or they're gonna be a reverse sear. I'm gonna let them go a little slow, get the smoke going in them, then I'm gonna crank that some up and get it done fast because I want the char on the
So
outside.
basically what you've got with the baby back is you've got the meat in between the rib bones themselves. So you've got a 1/2 inch piece of meat about a 1/2 inch wide. You're not going to cook that for 5 hours.
You
Well,
shouldn't.
Yeah, and you don't have to. That's right. That's why I'm a big anti. It's not about 3-2-1. It's not about 4-2-1. It's not about something 1. It's Depends on your rib, your cooker, and your process.
For me, cooking any rib, about 3 hours is the max for me on a rib. I like to cook them at 250, usually 275, and not go much over 3 hours unless I have to get them finished up. And if I go over 3 hours, it's a thick spare that's getting that extra time.
Sure.
Not a big back.
So you pull that loin back rib, that loin off, you pull that crown or that curved rib off, and that's your loin back. And then you got what's left of the rib, you got the cartilage down here, and you got this fat piece from where they removed the bellies already.
Because it ties into the belly at the bottom.
Correct.
And that's your full spare. So your full spare is basically the sternum on back. It's all the cartilage attached that brings that sternum and all that stuff down. And you get those full spares in, and then guys like over at Wichita Packing, they bring those in and they cut beautiful rectangles, these nice even rectangles out of them, and you end up with rib tips, which are super popular up in Chicago. You know, it's a staple because we were the hog butcher of the world, so we had lots of them. And you get that fatty, well-marbled, delicious meat with that cartilage around it that came off. So those St. Louis cuts are this perfect rectangle right here, you know, and they got a little bit of that belly fat because they're getting a little better. They're not the rounder bones. Usually you got a couple of rounder, then they move to the flatter, wider bones.
They go to flat wide. Right.
You know, and you get that nice layer of meat, and you look at them and they're marbled. They look like a good ribeye steak marbling on those St. Louis.
Matter of fact, sometimes you got to trim a little bit of the fat off the top.
True. Well, you get down around the bacon, you get some of that bacon.
Yeah, you get that belly, and if they went a little light when they trim that, you're going to get a lot of that extra on there. You might have to take a little off, you know, because it'll mess with your coloration if you're cooking them for competitions. You'll have some light spots or white spots.
And while fat's good, that's not the fat that you want a mouthful of.
Well,
Right.
It can be.
Just not. But so you cut those off, and then you got the rib tips there. Now,
But before we move, are you about to move to the next
I was
part?
going to move to the next section. What we got?
All right, hang on. So will peace be achieved between low and slow and hot and fast, you know, with barbecue guys, or I'm not throwing in the political piece there, Adam, I'm sorry. So peace has been achieved between low and slow and hot and fast, and the answer is you do you. You do you, that's right.
Yeah, you do you. And here's the thing about it. I'm not always hot and fast. There are times for low and slow.
Yeah, especially when you get some sleep, right?
There are times for it. It's just like anything. You can use a roller or a brush to paint a house, or you can use air to sprayer. How long you want to be painting that damn house? Like, there's lots of ways to get to your destination. All I'm trying to tell you is you can get there faster. If you don't want to spend 6 hours on it, you don't need to.
If I'm eating ribs on a Saturday afternoon,
4 hours.
3 hours is all the time that I'm willing to give up for those ribs. I still get a great product. They're delicious, and I don't have to spend all afternoon doing it. Now, if I'm working around the house and I've got the Kamado out there and I put a pork butt on it and I put it on the yard and I'm gonna mow the yard and be doing stuff, well, I'll let it go slow. Longer into the cook I go, I may wrap it and crank the heat up on it and finish it on out. But for a rib, I just don't want to dilly-dally on a rib all day when I can get that good of a product in the third of the time.
It's exactly the same with brisket with me.
Yeah.
Why take 18 hours when I can be eating in 6?
Exactly. A quality product.
But given that we cater, there's times I'll put on that brisket, and I'm like, man, that take me about a 5-6 hour nap if I just coast this thing for a little while, you know? You got to do what fits your cook for that day. And you need, I'm going to say this, you need to master both methods with every cut of meat. Ribs, brisket, it don't matter. You need to master low and slow and hot and fast, otherwise you're not a pit master.
And the three of us all do things
Yep.
similar ways, but we also vary greatly in a lot of our technique too. And it doesn't make one more right or one less right. If you can get that same quality, yeah, well, Dylan tells me I'm wrong all the time, but sometimes he's right. But anyway, if you get that same quality that you're getting another way, you do you. If you can turn out the same product,
Yeah.
hey, that's what it's about.
That's the lesson for sure.
Yeah.
You know, so you got the ribs here, and let's talk about the ribs that often confuse everyone, the country style ribs.
which are not
bone in.
Right.
You know.
I've been lied to.
So
my life is a lie.
Now the lie has gotten bigger in the past 2 decades.
That's right.
Because country style ribs, just so you know, so you know, the baby backs and all that end right about here, and you're getting into the shoulders. Country style ribs used to come from exclusively the blade, okay?
Yeah.
So they pulled the meat off the blade, above and below the shoulder blade here, back before they got to the shoulders. And they had these thick cuts that the reason they called them that is because it was like a flat meat on a beef.
Right.
So it was about the thickness of a rib, but they were kind of odd shaped. So the butchers didn't know what to do with them. They needed to sell them.
Right.
So they cut them up into these strips.
Yep.
And called them country style ribs. Now that's went pervasive as they got more popular. The demand exceeded the supply because there's only so much.
There's only so much on each animal.
On each animal above and below that blade. So you started getting these folks that were going into the whole shoulders and taking the pork butts
and making country style ribs.
And cutting them into country style ribs. But traditionally that country style rib was the little flat meat above and below the blade.
Yeah, I'd argue
between the shoulder and the ribs.
Country style ribs in the last 10 years, you actually didn't have true country style ribs. You had a pork butt.
You had a pork butt. Unless you went to a small town butcher or you did it yourself, you had a pork butt.
Now, is there anything wrong with a country style
Hell
rib?
no.
I love them. Now, that's
I grew up
something
on them. I
that
love
I do like to let go low and slow. I like to kind of coast those and let them break down more. For me.
I'll char them at the end though.
Yeah, that's.
I treat them like a pork steak.
That's just like a pork steak. You gotta have.
They're a
char
rectangle
on there.
pork steak.
But I mean, they're delicious. I don't know. I can get down some country style ribs.
Well, what I love about the country style rib is usually you buy this whole giant pack of them for like $5.
If you want to get jiggy with it, you can even get a pork butt and cut your own and save a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
But 2 other rib products to get people a little sideways. And we alluded to Chili's. Applebee's has done their own thing. The riblets, the riblets.
Yeah.
At Applebee's. So here's one for you. There actually is a product that comes off the pig called a riblet, but it is not what Applebee's is serving you. Okay, what Applebee's is serving you is called a button bone or a button rib. What a riblet really is after you get here, when you take off those loin back ribs and that, you've got the little, you know, if you followed dinosaurs when you were a kid, the stegosaurus are the vertical bones on that skeleton on a pig. When you cut those off, those are actually the riblets, okay? That's actually what the true, you know, meat cutter's guide is for a riblet. The button bones, they're actually not attached to anything. They're a floater back here that Applebee's giving you, and they're right above the tenderloin. And that's what they're there for. They're a shield for the tenderloin. And it's just little bone pieces attached to cartilage to protect that area. But it's actually not part of the rib cage.
Right.
You know, it goes back into the hams and back to the hips. It's a little, you know, a little armoring for that hog there.
Right.
You know, so what you're eating at Applebee's is not a riblet. It's actually a button bone or button rib.
But it's marketing.
But it's marketing and it works. And it eats good. You know,
Yeah, nothing wrong.
and the riblets eat good too. You know, there's
pig.
there's a little bit on it.
It's all eat pretty good.
But you know, so you got all those. You got your rib tips. You got your St. Louis. You got your full spares. Couple other rib products that people in terminology is, you know, they start talking about. And I saw this argument on social media the other day. And they're actually wrong about it. And imagine that. There was something posted on social media that was wrong. Okay? So there was an argument about, I don't know why everybody's talking about these racks, stacking racks. Racks are cut up slabs. Slabs is the name for the whole, and racks is for the partials. And racks aren't more than 6 or 8 bones.
No.
I don't know where the hell that person came from. But racks and slabs are interchangeable as a term. You know, where it came from is just literally Rica racks was one of the things it came from because of the way they stacked them
Right.
when they processed them. Now, where there is a difference is a full slab or a full rack and what's called a cheater rack. Okay, so a full slab has at least
I know.
has at least
I like it enough.
12 bones. Okay, 12 to 14 bones in a full slab. Sometimes you'll get one that's got like 15 or 16, but they're little bitty here, and they're not really there. But 12 to 14 is the standard for there.
Well,
Once in a while you get 11, but a cheater rack is typically either from a smaller hog or from a miscut on either the front or the back. And a cheater rack is an 8 or 9 rib that has that small end gone already. So it's typically that small end got taken off, and it's 8 or 9 bone rack. So it looks good.
How did 10 bones become the
demarcation point?
Yeah, it's like the demarcation point, right?
You know, well, if you count your slab, like when you're cutting them for competitions, it's usually those last
so they
2 to 3 that come off, and those 9 or 10 are the ones that are symmetrical, you know. So a lot of butcher shops sold cheater racks to people because they were looking. They were looking for something, and this is where, like, the blims, you know, this has happened, and it's pervasive in our food market period, is we want things to look perfect. We want it to be identical. We want it to be symmetrical. That's why we throw away so many tomatoes and apples and everything when they're not looking perfect. So same thing start happening with the meat, especially restaurants, because restaurant customers come in and they buy a half slab, and they get pissed if they get the half slab that's got the small end in it.
Oh, yeah.
I want the big end. I got cheated.
Wish that guy used to come in wanting the small end.
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, it's funny you mentioned that because now some restaurants actually sell small end or big end in their ribs.
So there were restaurateurs and butchers that didn't want to deal with that, so they developed these cheater racks that are between 8 and 10 bones, because they cut the small end off and not even sell them as ribs. Like, that would come off and go into another product. So they had the perfectly symmetrical slab. It's just a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
So those are known as cheater racks, where the other ones are full slabs or full racks.
So let's get these questions in. And let me, Michael Novello, everybody's well. Danny Montgomery, brother, good to see you.
Hope all well and Raymond.
Yeah. Learned a lot down there.
Hell, Mike's even dressing like you.
That's right. This is the new look.
Danny, check your hat rack. I think you found one's missing. Buddy.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite breed of hog for ribs?
So, to me, it really depends on what I'm cooking.
Right.
Okay. And people are like, "What do you mean? Depends on what you're cooking?" Well, each breed has different characteristics, and depending on what I'm looking to get out of that rib, you know, everyday eating rib, I want a Duroc or a Duroc hybrid. Okay.
Well, let's talk about some of the breeding while you're into breeds. The standard American butchering hog is now a much longer hog than they used to be.
Much longer, much heavier, much bigger.
Right.
The hog's been bred to be the same size when they go in the slaughterhouse, so you get a uniform product out of it.
As uniform as you can.
Well, and they were bred, so let's talk a little bit more about this. So it's really about where you're getting your meat from. You know, and I'm not trying to knock anybody's meat. I'm just trying to tell some truth. Okay?
Don't knock someone's meat.
That's right.
Yeah.
They get your black
Don't
eye.
knock it. But if you're buying, you know, some of those large brands that are selling them cryovac in Kroger's, in your grocery store, in Walmart, chances are you're just getting a feeder lot pig, and those feeder lot pigs aren't they're not a breed anymore. They were crossbred.
Many ways
they were developed.
Size.
They want a maximum size. They want to breathe the fat out, because there for a while, you know, pork was the other white meat.
Right.
And they bred it to be lean for the health conscious. They bred a lot of flavor out.
Well, and let's talk about the positives of breeding. You know, trichinosis used to really be a thing in pork, right? And you had to cook your pork loin to 9.4 billion degrees, and now you can get away with 135, 140, and it still tastes great.
Right.
So there was some benefit
so
to it.
So that was partial in the breeding, but it was also in the raising of hogs. you know,
What they were being fed.
Danny and what they were being fed and how we treated that. Because hogs were the catfish or carp.
Carp.
For a long time, hogs were the carp of the farm. Like,
Yeah.
all the scraps,
Just
whatever, just went out in the hog pen.
You had a dead animal built in there, it'd be immediate.
Yeah. You know, you let them eat, you know, turn loose, let them eat. You know, you had a mother-in-law you didn't like, push her in. I mean, I heard.
He's kidding.
You know, but so let's name some of the breeds.
You know, so the two most popular that people are going to know about here in the States are going to be the Berkshire
Yep.
and the Duroc. Those are the two. Now, there's Red Wattles, there's Mulefoots, there's Mangalistas, there's Ossabal, there's
Cheshire.
that's a cat.
Cheshire. Hey, they make good ribs though.
Yeah, that was Garfield.
They're Korean ribs.
That's your chicken on a stick.
But yeah, there were tons of heritage breeding pigs, like, you know, wild hogs and all that kind of stuff. But typically, you're going to get in American grocery stores and meat markets, you're usually going to get one of three things. You're going to get a commercial hog that's a hybrid. You're going to get a Duroc or a Duroc hybrid, which just means it was Duroc sired with some other bloodline, or you're going to get a Berkshire. Like, those are the three most readily available breed, you know, types of pork you're going to get.
Well, and that's where, and then you have families too. Like, I remember talking to Mr. Compart Duroc. He talked about just the mothering characteristics of some hogs being better than others. That's why they crossbred them, because more of the litter made it to market, et cetera, you know. So there's a lot of factors, and it's nuts.
Sure, and then you get to guys like John Jackson down in Georgia and Tank Jackson, no relation, down in South Carolina on the Barrier Islands.
Right.
And those guys are raising some awesome hogs. Like, John's got some from Hawaiian descent. Tank has got all kinds of cool hogs that he's doing, and he's crossbreeding Mulefoots with Ossabals to get some really cool characteristics and for the environment they live in, you know, because that's the other thing. Like, those guys are you know, they're raising them out in the field, they're not raising them in pens.
Right.
But, you know, for me, 9 times out of 10, when I'm cooking a Duroc or a Duroc sired hog,
Can you catch him?
once in a while, I do Berkshires, but I don't have those as readily available to me. You know, I know, like, Heath Riles is cooking the hell out of Berkshires.
Well,
you know,
Cheshire or whatever the new
um,
derivation is.
But yeah, you know, Durocs usually my tried and true. That's the one I typically go with. You know, it's got good red meat in it. You know, that dark red meat that you see in it. So it's got like lots of flavor, good marbling. It's just one that I really like.
Well, you know, and you got to realize what some of the hogs were bred for in the past. I remember when Shane, Mike, and the guys come up and we cooked that red wattle at the restaurant.
Oh my goodness!
I had no idea what
a lard hog
was. I'm telling you,
basically,
it was a lard hog, and the fat cap on that thing was like this. And by the time it rendered out, that
it took forever.
Had overflowed.
Yeah.
And I cleaned up grease for a week.
Well, and here's a fun story. This is a couple 100 years old. We're talking dark ages, like castles and knights kind of thing. You know, like Charlemagne days. Those red wattles were bred as weapons. Okay.
That's something I didn't know.
So yeah, so what they used to do, if you ever watch some of those shows like Game of Thrones or Vikings or whatever, you'll see some of these episodes in there. But these big castles that they couldn't breach the stone walls on, what they used to do is dig underneath the walls, and then they'd run a herd of red wattles because they were such fat, that lard. They'd run those red wattles underneath there and feed them down there and keep them down there. And their manure is high in methane and all that methane gas. And then they'd throw torches and they'd light that methane. And when it lit the methane, that lard would render out, and that lard is highly flammable. And you'd see explosions, and it would burn hot, and it'd burn until that rock wall came down. So the red wattles were actually not only sustenance, but they were weapons.
They're
back
running
then.
grenades.
You know, they were tasty death on hooves. You know, so you could have breakfast and bring down your enemy's castle with them. But, you know, you think about some of the stuff that people use as fuel, you know, whale blubber. Same thing with lard. People used to lard that out, and they cooked with lard. They, you know, the lamps, you could burn lard in a canvas tape lamp. Yeah, oil lamps.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why pigs were really popular, and they were hardy, and they'd travel, and you know, and you'd catch them out in the wild too. So hogs really helped a lot. You know, them and chickens helped settle a lot of places. You know, that's why you go to islands and stuff, and you find chickens and hogs that are there that were there from a shipwreck from 500 years ago. You know, so pork's super interesting. It just, you know, leave it to Americans to fuck it up in the 60s and 70s and make it white meat chicken.
White meat dog.
But yeah, you know, so there's so much you can get from those. So you got the button bones, you got riblets, you got full spares, rib tips, St. Louis spares, loin back ribs, country style ribs. And if you do that, I mean, that's just the middle section of the hog, and there's a whole lot to go there. But to me, that's why people get so confused. But I'm not saying there's nothing to use for a commercial hog. The commercial hogs are typically the ones I use when I know that I'm going to do some kind of crazy flavoring with them. Like if I'm going to do like a sticky rib or something where I'm going to put a lot of teriyaki and soy sauce and citrus juices and sugars and like chopped nuts and cilantro. If I'm going to be putting all those strong flavors on that rib at this point is just a vehicle.
Right.
You know, you're not tasting the delicate pork in that. And in that case, there's not a real reason to spend the money on those.
It's like a chicken breast.
On those better,
flavor.
You know, it really is. You know, there's not the reason that's a great place to use those kind of ribs. But if I'm looking for a simple rib, you better believe I'm cooking a Duroc or a Berkshire, because I just want that fat and that natural flavor that comes.
Oh, you want flavor, not just the red out. You know, the first time, if you've never had a Compart Duroc rib or something like that, the first thing you'll say is it tastes like pork. It finally tastes like pork again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the flavor is amazing. You know, you can take the Compart Duroc butt, shoulders, hit them with the kosher salt and a good smoke.
You don't need much else.
Yeah, and you don't need much else because it's already got a natural sweet flavor to it anyway. There's a lot of times I could just eat it like that, no rub on it at all. Just salt it down, smoke it, and pull it.
Especially tenderloins from those hogs.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
You know, you get one of those little C4s out, get it blazing hot, salt and pepper, and roll that thing around a little bit.
Yep.
Hot
Ain't nothing
damn.
like it. Yep, hot ham.
Hot damn. That's right.
That was my nickname in school anyway.
Yeah. Was it from all the rubbing?
Yes.
Rubbing's racing.
That's
You can
right.
tell it's chafing.
Well, Memphis in Maytime, in Memphis and Mays, where all us fat boys do some rubbing.
Yeah. Rubbing's chafing at
I'm
Memphis
telling you
Bay.
what, the first year I was down there, I could have lit a cigarette between my legs.
That's a bar trick I'd love to see.
Well, it's good hot out here in Western Kentucky. We might try that there later.
Mike would like to send a shout out to Jeffrey Kirkpatrick. Thanks for watching, Jeffrey.
It's Jimmy, damn it.
Oh, it's Jimmy.
I thought it was Jason.
Jordan, we love you, buddy. We just like to prod you a little bit.
Hey, Mike McDermott, thanks for checking us out, buddy. That's a guy who can tell a lot of stories about barbecue for sure. So yeah, I mean, that covers a lot of what we got going on with hogs. Can we do a Breaking Bad seasoning? It would be Blue Benedict no. Yeah, I mean,
I guess that would put a lot of credence to that old saying, you don't need no teeth to eat my beef.
we say the beat after that. Danny brings up a good point. You know, the redone Herefords are great. They're a really good hog as well.
Right.
I'm telling you what, there's somebody I learned a whole lot about hog from.
Yeah.
Danny Montgomery.
For sure,
You check out his Big D's page.
Well, and I'll tell you the other thing right now, if you're brave enough, even if you're not experienced, if you're a little brave and can watch some YouTube, right now with everything that's going on, There's hog farmers all over. Like I see it on Facebook up by me. The processing plants are closed and they got to get rid of animals.
Yep.
If
Now
you,
it's time to get a cheap hog.
you know, you can get a 300-pound hog up by me for 100, $120. You know, you got to pick it up live, take it home, and
Right.
and pop it and dress it and shave it. But
So you're not going to house train it? So what you're saying?
there's a lot. Well, 300-pound hog. I mean, that's like having 2 mics around.
2 mics?
And when you're shaving those things, don't use the battery Noroko.
No, not at all. Mike asked you a question. Love ribs the cure only. What would you recommend with it? I don't know why you messed up a good rib. Actually, we did some testing today. That cure is going to mix with a lot of things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really anything you want.
You know,
Once Notorious RED comes out.
I like the cure just straight out on a rib, old school, no wrap on it. But having said that, when you hit it with something else, Joe Sutherland's watching. Let's give a shout out to Big Joe there. But when you hit something else on top of that cure, this is great vehicle for other rubs. I mean, it plays well with others. That apple on top of that cure, that's solid gold.
Well, I got to tell you, like when we did the cure at home, one of the things I love to do, you know, because the cure rib has been like my go-to, my comfort, my when I want to feel old school, old days, when I want to reminisce about being a kid. The cure is what I always used, and to go with it, what I always made and I loved was, because especially in summertime, we get fresh pineapples every summer.
Yeah.
Pineapples and strawberries. We always have around watermelon, cantaloupe, and we would cut the peel off the pineapple. Instead of throwing it away, we had one of those old big ass mason jars, and they'd throw those trimmings of that pineapple in there and pour a gallon of vinegar in and a little bit of crushed red pepper flake, and they just let it sit. And you just add to it and add to it and add to it and just put the lid back on, and you get a dip out of that. And that pineapple, that sweetness and that acidity from that pineapple would leach into that vinegar, and those crushed red pepper flakes would bloom and give that a little spice. You know, and we just put that in one of those little swing top Grolsch bottles.
Right. Yeah. I love
And you pull those hot, fresh ribs, that cure ribs, right off the pit, and pop that swing top. Put your thumb over the bottle and give it a sprinkle. And I'm telling you right now, that like sweet heat, acidic, with that fat that's just starting to bubble and cool off and make that bark on it, it just.
Well, see, that's what I like about the cure with the apple. You know, that cure is kind of peppery, and if you put it on, if you put it on light, you really don't get much of a note from it. You put it on pretty heavy. First time I did pork steak out of it, man, I tell you what, I smeared it on there and had a big old heavy coat. Shit lit me up.
And it's funny because you don't think about black pepper doing that, but it's the good black pepper. It's the fresh black pepper.
Well, the fresh, that's it. So that's the difference when we keep preaching with the flavor and honest products is if you're using them potentially 6 days after they've been made, and all that black pepper oil mixes with that brown sugar in the cure, man, you get hot.
In the tumbling process. Now, here's the other thing. People are like, well, what's the big deal about fresh pepper? I go to the restaurant, they bring out peppermint. I get fresh pepper all the time.
It's different.
No, you don't, because the peppercorns aren't fresh. The peppercorns in this are fresh.
Right.
And that's the difference, okay?
Still have the oil.
Still have the oils.
Right.
And the oils haven't oxidized and aged and everything yet. It's fresh peppercorns. You know, that's why the barbecue woods out there are not the same. You know, that's why, you know, to me, if you're buying hickory wood or any of those fruit woods on the market, that's why I love the B&B split woods, because they use green woods. You know, everybody else puts them out. They bring the green wood in and kiln it real quick, so it's still full of all that oil.
Right.
You know, and all that oil's ready to get that flavor. Everybody else sits it out there in the sun on the lot and season it for a year.
Right.
Well, you're not only evaporating the moisture at that point, you're oxidating the oils in that wood, because it's getting baked under that sun. So so the oil content's less.
Yeah, the B&B woods, I can't say enough about it. Their charcoal products. I've kind of got addicted to their post oak. I found that on some, like a brisket or beef that takes a little heartier smoke, that it really puts a great.
Well, they have a kind of a comprehensive line, because what I love is you use their char logs and then the wood on top of that. So you get the heat, but you can flavor it however you want.
I'm telling
On
you.
top of the wood.
Well, I've said a million times, the first recipe that I got to decide about when I'm cooking is what's my fire recipe, because I know it sounds funny, but people go out there and they open up just a bag and throw some charcoal in and think that's it, and it's not. I mean, even if it's not B&B, there's a lot of products and a lot of different flavors you can get between briquettes and lump, you know, and big lump and hardwood and pellets
And
and,
what the lump's
stick
made out
wood and
of.
chunks.
Well,
You know, is the lump made out of, flooring? You know, is it made from the
Is
timber
it scrap
itself?
lumber? Is it
What's it made
actual
out of?
logs?
Mhm. Makes a big difference in it. I had a gentleman one time that was sending out an orchard and had a bunch of peach, and I hadn't used peach before, and he got me several truckloads of peach, and I'm telling you, that peach had been dried for a year and do pork over top of it, son, it's magic.
Yeah.
all right, covering anything else, or are we good?
Well, I think we went A to Z pretty good there on the ribs.
Well, let's give everybody about 5 minutes. If you got questions, throw them in here, but we're gonna keep it pretty short. You gotta get back on the road. You gotta head north.
So nobody tell Andy we had a guy down from Chicago.
Broke all the rules, and we're not 6 feet apart.
Rule breaker.
Well, the cigar smoke's helping us. It creates
That's
a
right.
barrier,
It's a barrier.
shield.
See, that's why we keep him around, for his knowledge.
Mm.
Mr. Wizard.
Somebody once called me Mr. Miyagi at barbecue. I thought that was pretty cool.
He do have an Asian look. I've always thought that.
Just because they got big cheeks.
Well, you just sometimes you got slant eyes, but anyway,
Hey, now.
here's another story.
Just because I'm tired a lot.
I tell you what, Shane's blunt didn't work out too good there, did it?
Yeah, it's all right. We'll get to it. It's kind of hard to multitask here.
I couldn't read it without my glasses.
I know. I'm like,
I hate saying that.
how water kills the virus.
That's why I keep it up
Adam
on my
Buchanan,
side.
beef ribs. That's a whole other 2 hours.
I'm telling you what, beef ribs, we could probably spend a good 2 hours.
Yeah, that's a whole other.
Well,
thing.
here's the funny thing about beef ribs. There's only 2 that people really know about, and there's so much more. And there's a cut of beef ribs that emulate the 123As that are $1 to $2 cheaper a pound. And the only difference is you get a little bit less of them than you do in the 123As. They come out just as rich, and you can do some really cool presentation stuff with them.
What's amazing is the deeper you delve into the different brands of meat, types of meat. I got that A9 Plus Wagyu brisket from Kevin Green at the butcher shop in Pensacola. First time I had one of those, I'm telling you, that was magic all day long right there. If you look at it price-wise, you think it's kind of pricey. When you cook it, it doesn't shrivel up and shrink, and you've got that much. You know, you've got 2 or 3 meals out of that brisket.
Well, and it's richer. Like, you don't need to eat a half pound of
Yeah,
it because you
you
couldn't
eat a
be
pound of it.
sick.
Yeah,
You know?
the family's pretty well impressed with that.
Yeah. But we'll leave. I mean, again, that's
That's another chapter.
You know, we're gonna ask when's the new rub coming out. That's always a standard.
Well, we literally just got the sample 2 days ago. We got the sample 2 days ago. We cooked with it once. We need to cook with it 2 or 3 more times. Try a couple different variations, make sure it turns out right. But it'll be the next greenlit one.
I think so.
Well, I mean, we did 4 racks. We did 2 just with the apple and 2 with the apple cure layer on them. And I'm pretty well satisfied that both of them are home runs. Want her to cook with it a few more times, but I really like the combination.
Yeah, I think this notorious RED is gonna do a lot for a lot of people. To me, it's the sweet rub that's gonna be, you know, that sister rub to the cure, but it's also gonna be a great base rub for a lot of other stuff. Like there's gonna be, you'll lay this down, it's got a good base, and then you can kind of tweak it from there with what you want.
Yep.
And where you want to take it, but I think it's great by itself.
Well, the
It's
thing I like
great
about these rubs, and I'm really finding the more I use them is that the salt content is not through the roof on them.
Right.
So that when you do mix them and match them, you're not have something that's just way too salty when you get to the end of it. Because I ran that before trying to layer rubs. You really got to watch what you mix together, because if both of them have a high salt content, it's just going to be way too salty at the end of the cook. With these, it seems like you don't run into that problem as much. As a matter of fact, there's been a time or two that I've had to add a little to mine. Of course, I like a little more salt probably than most people do.
Sure.
Well, my blood pressure requires it.
I'll tell you though, I think Shane and I are similar mind when it comes to that. Like this rub, one of the things I had to re-engineer for on it to release it is typically rubs that I've made for my consumption at home have little to no salt in them, because the way I prefer to prepare it is I salt the meat and I sweat it for anywhere from 30 minutes to 3 hours ahead of time, and then I put my flavoring over it.
Right.
So I build the stuff that I know I'm using at home in a 2-stage process, because I know I want to salt that. I want to get that reaction from that meat, that tenderization, that pulling that moisture out of those cells, so that those cells and pores are opened up when I get ready to put flavor to it. Because then they're just going to suck it up like a dry sponge. So when I add it back for these rubs like this one, I pulled out of my personal stash, to share. I know we can only educate people so much, and there's going to be a lot of people who get this bag in their hands and try it that aren't going to see the video or see the post or see the instructional. So we got to build it so that it's great for them right out of the bag. So in these cases, I've added salt back. But to your point, we didn't start with the salt first. We engineered these differently.
Well, most rubs honestly are basically seasoned salts.
Right.
In so many ways.
Seasoned salt or seasoned sugar.
Mm-hmm. It'd be really cool. It would be the bomb to have this place that you could go to and find recipes to use these products.
Doesn't exist.
What?
Guess you better get busy.
That's right.
Mike's got work to do.
Everyone joined late that you missed the new product announcement. When we post this, it'll be in the front. Check it out, because you'll want all the backstory anyway, and we can't keep redoing it. Top 3 things with the proof that you drink.
Top 3 things with proof that I drink.
It's like a riddle.
Riddle me this.
So is the question the top 3 proofs?
No. Top 3 things you like to drink that has proof. Basically alcohol there.
Well, right now I've got a Jim Beam White Label 90 proof. It's kind of my day-to-day drink. Probably my next one, I'm kind of a fan of that Yellowstone. Had a friend of mine that traded me out some Yellowstone for a brisket, and I was pretty well impressed with that. That 10-year-old Henry McKenna.
Wasn't bad, very peppery.
That's really good. Generally, I like something that's under 100 proof. I don't like it too hot. When you get much over 100, when you get much over 90 proof, you start losing me.
Yeah.
I've got to cut it. I can't do it.
It's like heat for me, where it's like, okay, I lost all the flavor.
Yeah, I kind of lose my flavor. And so I like something around 90 proof, something around there is good for me, 80, 90.
Yeah, I mean, they call me a fanboy or whatever, but I've been on the wagon for a while. I love a good blend.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I love, a good rye.
Sazerac rye.
Sazerac rye is good. Low and slow rye, rock and rye. But yeah, it's usually a Blanton's, a rye, or I'll tell you right now, and I'm not embarrassed to say it, I've been rocking it. It's like my little summer spritzer cocktail with the Crown Royal Peach.
Forgive me, because
he didn't mean what he said. But I like a good, take some Louisiana tea, unsweetened, brew some Louisiana tea, and a little bit of Crown Peach in it. And I'm happy with that. Like, that's a nice little porch cocktail.
Well, there's a lot of bourbons out there that I really do like. They just don't fit my day-to-day budget.
Right.
That's why I'm more like an Evan Williams, Jim Beam kind of guy. My day-to-day, those are my go-to.
Well, I'll tell you, we're lucky up in the Chicagoland area. We got a liquor store called Benny's, and it's huge. And it's so big, they actually buy their wine on futures. for the grape, while the grapes are on the vine, they're buying the grapes and the wine that it's going to be. And then they've started doing the same thing with like bourbons and stuff, buying the future barrels. So they have their own label called Clark and Sheffield, which are 2 streets there in Chicago. And it's their own personal blend from barrels that they've picked. And, you know, it's $21, $22, you know, sometimes it's $17 a fifth. And it's a good daily drinker. Like,
When I want
no shame.
and I want something that's got a lot of flavor to it and that I can drink neat, I go to Wilderness Trace out of Danville. I'm telling you, they've got their bourbon and their rye is out of this freaking world. When I'm got my cackles up and I'm feeling good about something, that's my go-to.
Now, I'll tell you, that doesn't mean that I won't like yours. And if you think I might, you can send it this way. You know, all the cigars and whiskey you want to send, we'll try.
That's funny.
And if you send us one, we'll call you out on Cigar Sunday.
Out of the kindness of our heart.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay if we put the hamburger recipe on the website? Yeah, it's kind of what the website's for, Steve. It's to put everyone's recipe as you
kind of
mix stuff
recipe.
together. Yeah.
I mean, we got people submitting. We're going to submit some where we're just taking sour cream and some of the rubs and a few chopped vegetables for dips. We got queso recipes, guacamole recipes, soup recipes. If you're using the product in it, submit it.
So as we get further to the fall of the year, I can't wait to get kicked up on the soup recipes for some of these rubs. Everything that I've used them on, I love. You know, I'm a big shrimp guy. I love shrimp. You take that cock-a-voodoo, lay it on that shrimp, and then let it sit for 30, 45 minutes. Put some butter in a cast iron pan, put it on the grill, put it on the stove top, put it up your ass. I don't care. That stuff comes out awesome.
Well, hey,
fried stuff we do.
yeah, I mean, we were just, not to let too much out, but we were doing fried chicken and fried fish today and found some awesome combinations with some new products and some now products and
That fried fish with that
oops.
on top of it. You know, the fried chicken with the
voodoo on it.
it.
I'll tell you right now, if you like fried chicken, your world's about to get rocked this summer.
Yes, it is. About to have some bad-ass chicken sandwiches.
Popeyes ain't got shit on this corner.
No, they don't. No boneless thighs.
Boneless skin on thighs.
That is the ticket. Cock-a-voodoo on top of it.
With a little bit of some super secret chicken fry.
Little pickle red onion, throw that on there as you go.
Little smear dukes and a Martin's potato roll.
Yes, sir. Dinner all day long.
Won't kick her out of bed for eating that.
All right, I think I've covered some questions. Any parting shots?
Big negative on that.
All right, well done.
Yep.
I'll let you do the outro while I'm close.
You're gonna do the outro? All right.
You two are.
Let's get a grumpy.
We are? Okay.
Oh.
Well, you all know me. I'm Pitdaddy. That was Pitmaster Shane D. And this hot picnic lunch with his blanket spread across his belly and Danny Montgomery's hat on is the Apollo Creed of barbecue. He's got more names than James Brown. We got Cinnabear, Smoking Gnome, Barbecue Mercenary.
If you'll go to Die House Farm Supply, Crabworth, Kentucky, you too can look this good, I'll tell you right now.
You know, this is when he decided to go undercover at the Amish ranch because he thought he'd milk the bull for
That's
him.
right. I'm gonna tell you what, if you think milking bull's easy, let me tell you, it is not. I've got scars to prove it.
All right, till next Sunday, maybe even Wednesday. We'll see you then, guys.
Peace out.